Finance committee's order. Clerk, take the roll, please.
Mr. Bale,
Here.
Mr. Copeland,
Here.
Mr. Drexel,
Here.
Mr. Horton,
Here.
Mr. Showerman, here, Mr. Capella,
Here.
Winarski,
Here. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak? If you don't mind or here, wish to speak? None? Jump right into it. Item number 1 on our agenda, ordinance number 23rd, 2025, general fund budget supplemental appropriation, $25,000 for safety and security improvements with DLPC safety and security grant reimbursement. First read at our last meeting. Questions, concerns? Forward that item. Item number 2, ordinance number 21, 2025, amendment to ordinance number 9, 2025. First read, their last meeting. Questions or concerns dealing with the Pleasant Ridge letter of credit? None? Good. We can, I'd like to discuss items 3 through 6, which is substantially similar, dealing with supplemental appropriation and release of restricted funds, adult probation. Oh no, I'm sorry, I was jumping ahead. No. Item number 3, fund supplemental appropriation, $125,000 for release of restricted fund balance on adult probation supervision fees.
Chief Kessler address now supplement if needed.
We're requesting these funds be transferred from our restricted fee account into our expendable account, if you will, to purchase 19 tasers. So we have that all of our tasers.
I did have a couple of questions or maybe issues. Some amount of this money is paying for an invoice that we already have. In a total of many pages on this invoice. $33,000.
That was, we currently possess 12 tasers. Not those, not everybody wanted to do it. So we should, so to speak. Now it has become a valuable tool to my officers. So we have much greater interest of sharing them. Isn't really working out for us. That 33,000 is from the 12 that we already have that we were paying on an installment plan, and now we just want to pay them off with this new purchase of the additional 19.
These are the same supervision fees that we were dealing with prior in the year.
There is a balance at the end of the year in the supervision fee. It goes in a restricted account. And then we have to release anything that's above and beyond the budgeted amount that we have. So it's just a technical accounting. Seeing it out of our existing restricted account. So
It's the only concern that I had. Obviously we dealt with in the budget process that some of the supervision fees have been reduced. We did a supplemental appropriation to restore those fees. If we had an invoice coming due for last year's purchase, why didn't we have it in our budget to out of that supervision fees for the? I'm uncomfortable with the idea that we have an invoice before the appropriation.
So the invoice, as Chief Kessler explained, was for an installment plan. So it was just an administrative decision to pay that off with the new purchase of the additional tasers. So we were budgeted for the installment plan to make payments, but if we're going to get all these and we have the money, let's just pay it off.
Paying off a future payment.
Paying off the installment plan that we already owe on it. Yeah.
Okay, appreciate it. Yeah, I don't mean to give you a hard time, just trying to,
No.
seeing an invoice, I'm like, wait, a minute, usually you come and ask for the money first.
We paid 3 years, so that portion of it, that 33,000, that would pay off what we already possessed.
And it was put out for a bid bid
Yeah,
bid
we already
process.
have the bid.
Any questions? Now, for the sake of time, items number 4, 5, and 6 are the substantially similar releases of restricted automation fees from the clerk of record, or clerk of courts, monetary, and Commissioner of World's office.
This is our restricted funds, and we do this every year. It's just so we can pay specific bills and use for other items that we need throughout the year.
Is there any timing concerns around that?
If we could go to a second reading, that would be great, because we do have some bills with the new case management system. I think everybody's aware of. This is what we pay that for. And I do have a bill due.
Just for time, we can move those forward with one vote as well.
I think our solicitor would tell you that you just have to read every one of those ordinances because they are ordinances, but I'm not sure. I'm not opposed to doing that. Jay's take on it.
What's the question? Suggested to move forward, or all three as a single vote.
Yeah.
That.
And it should be moved to second. I don't have an objection to it. We should always aspire to pay our dog.
Item number 7, general fund budget supplemental appropriation, $433,000 for additional federal revenue for housing immigration detainees. What is yours?
Yes, so this is funds that were not budgeted for this year. We have a contract with the U.S. Marshals, as I'm sure everybody was aware, and ICE piggybacks off that contract. We don't usually get a lot of detainees in, but we do have 30 beds reserved for that federal system. And they have been using our facility more often than they have in the past years. We've actually realized around 140, almost $150,000 this year so far through those payments, and that was none of that so far was none of it was budgeted in. Went with the 433,620 as a middle of the road conservative estimate, just in case they stop using us or they start pulling people out, or if we get too full, we have to tell them no, we can't. But we're well on our way to making that number. We'd like to use it towards the overtime fund. But line item. These federal funds, federal payments don't have any restriction on how we can use them. So.
I'm challenged on this in more ways than one. But one of the questions I have is, it's talked about this being a projection of revenues, an estimation of revenues, but then at the same time, we have a certification of those funds. And I'm having a hard time understanding if we have payments in hand,
We
we
have
should be certifying those.
a certain amount of payments in hand. I believe January, February, I think March are in. I'm not sure April, Paul, we just ended April, so April's definitely not in yet. But those 4 months, they'll come to just shy of 150,000 as of now.
Do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, should we be appropriating the unanticipated revenue that we've received or a projection?
I'd be cautious about that.
I would also second, it's not like you have a contract that guarantees this revenue, correct? It's not like an account receivable account, it's just, they pay you when you utilize the bed, it's not like a
Yes.
guarantee. So there's no account receivable, so there's no guarantee this money could actually come in, it's just potential, but not for certain.
I would just add to that, that you have I mean, you pass the budget with the same uncertainty. You're passing the budget and appropriating all that revenue, and you have no idea if it's coming in or not either. You know, you're just sending, you're making a guesstimate. This is the same thing. I mean, if you wanted to come down here and do an ordinance once a month for what he's received, that just seems like an awful lot of extra paperwork.
I mean, our federal reimbursements, we raised it this year, but it's still not counting this, and it's all speculation too, because Marshall's tomorrow, consumers will stop using Erie.
Mr. Horton?
Yeah, Patrick, we're talking about projected revenue, since you referenced the budget, which is a sore subject with me still, that we've never received a balanced budget from the administration. But I'll put that aside and to say that usually we have data, so we didn't really get that from the previous years, so that we can make an educated and informed guess, which of course this is something new we can't do. So I don't think that your example would really fit this right here, as far as us estimating projected revenue. As far as us, excuse me, as far as us talking about projected revenues. And so I would really rather not have that. It seemed like that gaslight me a little bit with that. Now, to be fair, no one's asked anyone to come and bring a monthly report also to your statement, whether it would be burdensome or not. But I think it's not, I don't think that it's beyond the pale to ask, how much does that money that you have in hand, how many beds have you filled, and how much does that money represent in terms of beds or nights spent to honor that ICE contract? If you want to bring that type of information, I'm all ears for it, but don't tell me that it's the same as us projecting revenue.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
guys, we'll come every quarter.
I mean,
Yeah.
to the point that was made, you're correct. Both revenues and expenses in the budget are an estimate and projection. But a supplemental appropriation is something else entirely. It is unanticipated revenue that is being, right? So I'm simply stating that if you are certifying unanticipated revenue, that there should be receipt and actual verification when by the rationale and justification and ordinance words, I mean, this was a projection and an estimate.
We'll come back.
That's my concern.
Yeah, we'll come, every quarter we'll come back.
What's our cost per prisoner associated with average cost per day?
The amount we send to when we figure out our annual GRR report, which we send to the state, I think this year is about around 95 for 2024.
95 per day.
Yes, correct.
Don't you only get reimbursed 99 per day for these?
For these, yes, but we don't get reimbursed for any of the county or state people that comes in. Our own people.
Well, I got
This is
that.
additional monies that,
But it cost. You said it costs us $95, now how's that detainee?
I'm saying when you divide our budget by the average daily population throughout 2024, it comes to around $95. That's last year.
So it's not really additional cost, because you have the beds and you have the staff and there's nothing.
We wouldn't be shutting anything down if they weren't there.
Does this mess up your minimum staffing ratio?
I'm sorry.
Does this mess up your minimum staffing ratios? Are you
No.
required to bring more people
No.
for the increased load?
No, and if it gets too much, I've already talked to ICE, and said, you know, if we see a rise in local population of our detainees, you're gonna have to move them, and they, you know, no problem. We fluctuated a few times and said, hey, we're getting a little full, why don't you get some out? They're happy to work with us on that, because obviously we've got to care for our detainee, or, you know, inmate population first without the custom of the same. Right now, our biggest problem is females, and that has nothing to do with ICE or feds, it just has to do with the female population in the whole state. It's exploding, and that's what we're having issues with, of having, maybe extra staff to deal with that, because we have more costs and whatnot.
35 beds in that pod that are reserved for this purpose?
We have 30 beds that we told the feds we could provide throughout the jail, not that certain housing.
But we do have a pod set aside, or?
No, they mainly stay in the classification unit just because they, even though that number is around 30, could be 20, I think right now we're at 17. They still, within a week, usually move on somewhere else. All these individuals are already seen a judge, they already have deportation orders, and they're just moving through the process
At what point in the process have they seen a judge?
before they come to us. We will not take them out of the property, I-200, I-203.
Are you talking about, are you holding them under,
Hangers, no.
because I actually had close conversations with lawyers that have represented some of the clients through it.
So have I.
And they seem to have a different point of view as to where, at what point did they get due process. I'm under the impression that they see a judge first at Moshannon.
Moshannon is one of their bigger areas, their bigger facilities, so that's normally where they're seeing people, but they could be transferred into somewhere else. I know there's obviously they're paid attorneys who are, or advocate attorneys see it differently, but we make sure we have the correct paperwork. We've been doing this since early 2000s, if not earlier. I've never had a legal challenge or an issue with any of them.
They're being held under judicial warrants, or
They're being held under a federal hold, a nice immigration hold. There's two forms, an I-200 and I-203. I don't remember the official names, we go by numbers all the time. But they are already have been seen a judge, they are already in the deportation process. Many of them are sex offenders who were not allowed to travel to their own country because their country just wouldn't take them. They've been languishing in our system or the federal system or out on the streets. The feds are only allowed to hold for 180 days, and if they won't, the country of origin won't accept them, they have to let them go. So we've had repeat people over and over that are costing the county taxpayers a lot of money because then they get local charges for failure to register that we have to take care of on our time. So we see a lot of repeat offenders coming through that they picked up a local. The other side of that would be those moving through the process of the deportation.
So, so the detainers, well, those, not detainers, but those people being detained by ICE, most of them are from outside of Erie County.
It's a mix.
Yeah. So it's like 50,
I wouldn't go with that yet.
but there are Erie County
There are some,
residents that are being detained under this.
there have been, yes. Most of them, like I said, are repeat offenders that we've seen before.
can you quantify that?
And they're coming from far away, is from where?
You know, we're not aware of that. Most of them are coming from the Shannon Valley, the BOP, Lake Detention Center down there. I'm sorry.
Could you quantify those parts? Like, could you give us statistics of population?
I'm just saying that there, if most of the ones that are from the local area have been in our facility before.
Could you quantify that? Like, could you-
I have no data or statistics with me now.
Well, how many beds did we have before this ice started?
How many beds
I
do we
mean,
have total?
did you, for the
Oh,
federal?
we've always had around 30 to 50 beds for feds. They have the contract. The federal marshal side we use as the immigration side, not so much. I think maybe we brought in like 14,000 last year as well. From their side of the payments.
So what if ICE came to the county and they needed more beds?
I would tell them there's no way.
Is that your decision?
Well, I would run it by the administration, but I'm pretty sure they would back us. The fact that we have to have room for our own, population for the county and the state. They've always been really easy to work with, if they need people out or whatever. There's been some counties that have designated X amount and can accept increases, but they have extra room and we just don't, so.
And you said there's no pot, but they're mixed in with regular.
They can be, if there's gang issues and stuff, we'll mix them out to different housing units.
Separate.
But keep separate kind of issues, but normally we try to keep in the classification unit, because normally they're moving within 5 days. So it's not like the same, say, 25 people are there at a given time.
What effect does this have on the prison guards? Who were short-staffed anyway, and they're working overtime now. So with, let's say, full beds, 30 beds are full, doesn't that press them a little more than they are?
I mean, they're used to working in housing that's full. Our numbers were down, so we could accept some. If our numbers were where they were 2 years ago, they were no ICE detainees, but we were sitting at 700 and looking for beds outside the county. We would have told them no. I mean, if housing unit of 94 is open, it's open, whether it's 35, 45, it gives you a little tighter room for special cases, but those special cases normally aren't gonna hang out. And we basically told, not basically, I told immigration, if we get any situations where the subjects are difficult, they gotta roll, because we're not gonna deal with
And
that.
you can control that.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
They give us they have done this.
I was a little surprised. I remember having some conversations last year. People in it, like that worked at the county prison. I kind of thought that we had a challenge with the population, being able to contain people in Erie County. Was I given factually incorrect information?
I'm not sure.
So somebody had said something like one of the common areas had been set up with bunks, like that's previously maybe a gym or a lunchroom or
Females.
something like that
Females.
on the field. So we have.
We have no ICE detainees that are females. We will not take them. That's a stipulation.
Just a lot of female prisoners.
A lot of revocations. Like Chris.
How's that?
Not you, Chris. No,
They were by themselves.
a couple of years ago, we had to move several down, like 20 down to Lawrence County.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we only have one housing unit, and you have all levels of classification with housing unit. You have a ton of, say, pregnant females that have to be bought up on tier. You have mentally ill that are waiting to go to Torrance. The state has also stopped taking weekly transfers for inmates overall. We are down now to every other week if we get that, so that backs everything up. We also have, we used to average maybe 4 or 5 inmates that were there with state detainers with new charges. In other words, they got out of state system, they're on state parole, they got new charges. I know the state's all proud to say they can shut down 2 jails, but we're seeing that because we got 25 of them right now. We never had those kind of numbers before. So I think they're letting a lot of people out, hoping that they'll do the right thing, but we're not seeing those numbers. We're seeing higher numbers coming back in. So that jams everything up. So they can't leave to go back to the state system until they're done here in Erie County Court.
Need help at the magistrate level, quit bounding a lot of that stuff over. Shouldn't be jailable. And the bond, cash bail. There's
No
a lot
control
of-
over that.
I know, I'm just saying.
You're not-
There's a lot of things out there that could be tried.
You didn't look like the magistrate. I'm
You're not
saying
gonna
that's the
stay time unless
magisterial.
you're 2 years or more.
In the magisterial districts. I've had this talk with former president judge. A lot of the stuff that makes its way to the court of common pleas.
So we're moving that forward with the change in the numbers.
Well, if the change numbers, we don't know what that functional number is, right?
Up to 100.
We'll get you something tomorrow.
You got till Tuesday to work it out, or table it. That's fair.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, moving on to number 8, approval of waiver of bid requirements for purchase and sales procedures of the administrative code and approval of sole vendor contract between First Match and Erie County Juvenile Probation.
Yes. So I'm asking for a waiver so that we can partner with First Match to purchase an analytical tool that will assist probation officers in identifying appropriate placements and/or community-based programs. The goal would be to initiate these community-based programs to prevent the children from going into a placement facility. But this tool would assist us by analyzing all of our data in our current juvenile case management system, and then help identify those programs that are most appropriate. The waiver would be required, but it is a purchase that would be covered by the needs-based budget because it is for juvenile justice services. So there wouldn't be a cost that comes out of my county department.
So say that again, who's paying for this?
The needs-based budget.
Children's youth.
And why would there be, is there not another vendor, or is this just a proprietary? Is this just the vendor that you like, or have you looked at other vendors?
No, there is no other vendor. They are the creator and owner of the
It's
program.
proprietary.
Yes. And I will say that the juvenile court judges system, or the juvenile court judges commission is also in support and has agreed to share the data through our juvenile case management system. And this is something that's going to be pushed out through the rest of the 67 counties or 66.
Is, what's that maintenance? Is there a maintenance agreement with that? What are
No,
the
they,
total costs?
total cost will be $45,000.
And there's no maintenance?
No, that it's all included in everything.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and then the last thing on the agenda, approval of a waiver of bid requirements for sole vendor contract for ESRI in the county. This should sound familiar because this was voted down 2 weeks ago.
I have a copy of it. For some reason, it didn't print.
Failed 4-3.
It's in the link, but it didn't. Yes.
There are restrictions on bringing forward a new, an agenda item that had been previously voted down. Is there anybody that voted no on this that is bringing this forward?
Nope.
Not sure why this is on our agenda.
You'd have to vote against it to be able to bring it back.
Does anyone want to talk about it? Because on here, it's kind of me.
Well, it failed. So the only way that it can be brought back is if those who,
Or 6 months.
for 6 months.
Okay, well, this directly affects Erie County in a negative way. This isn't a purchase of software, this is a renewal. So I think you have to understand that. This software was purchased about 20 years ago. And what we do is every year we pay a small fee just to renew it and just to keep it. So if we get unplugged from the software, one, besides affecting public safety and everything else that we do, you're unplugging the community and your stakeholders from all the good stuff that we do. So you would be unplugging Next Gen 911, which we're in compliance with. You would be affecting the 9 other counties that we have agreements and like signed contracts with, that we all use the software. So there's 9 other counties besides us that have all agreed before I got here, before you got here, that we're gonna use Esri software. It saves all 10 counties $2 million per year. So we left the analog system. We went to this Esri software, so it works and it operates with a lot of different systems, with the state police, with EMS, with the tax assessment office, with addressing with municipalities, and also disabled people. So if someone is at Beach 6 and they can't make a phone call because we don't have the software, I mean, it's gonna be disastrous, to be honest with you. So, and this agreement is just a renewal. Again, we already paid for it 20 years ago. It's like buying a car. You buy a car, you pay for the car, but every year you have to pay for an oil change, tires, that kind of thing. That's what we're looking at here. But when you unplug us, if you don't vote yay for this, someone's gonna have to come back and purchase it, and it could cost like over $100,000. It's that kind of critical.
So the third way that something can be brought forward onto the agenda is if new information is brought to us. So
Okay.
any member can make a motion based off of that new information. I would suggest if it's that important, we should have known that before.
Yeah, again, I turned in the same information before. I lost my voice. I wasn't here. Everyone voted yes. And then, I didn't get any questions. No one came out to me and had any questions. So I wasn't aware that there were a lot of issues on this because of the first vote was 7-0 to pass out. So I thought everyone read what I passed out. I could pass it out again. But we're saving 2 million with the 10 counties here. We support the city of Erie. We helped with their bridge project, which is gonna bring in 15 million a year. We just did the safe walks for the Erie School District with United Way in Canada. We presented that at the PHEIS conference. And people reached out from all over the state to bring in, one of my colleagues from Florida, she's working with the city to bring in 2 to 3 million for transportation for just the Safe Walks projects. Then we also communicated with Tyler, which piggybacked on that project. They're talking another 2 to 4 million for the city of Erie on just the Safe Walks project. So we're generating revenue. The software that we're using, it's just a renewal. We don't have to buy it. We're just renewing it. And besides generating revenue, we're also generating extra grants with the projects that we're doing with the community and the outreach. And then besides the tax parcels and everything else, this is going to affect the, like, here's my polling place, your election app
How much revenue has it generated?
right now. $42,000. And I'm looking at just 30 here. Then that 42 is leading to 6 million just in the city, not to let alone the stuff that we're doing, which is out in the county.
They're gonna talk about projected revenue.
It's not projected, it'll happen. You could talk to Mayor Shumway. He said 15 million a year for Chris. That's not the number I'm making up, that's the number that he's saying.
He's gotta get there.
Okay.
Couple months here.
When's this expire?
It's
When is the
expired.
renewal? It's expired, but we have a window to
I have
Of
a
how
very
long?
small window of less than 30 days.
renew it.
Well, with the new information, I'd be
Yeah.
comfortable somebody bringing it forward.
I don't know what information's new. I'm
I can
curious
pass
to-
this out.
Well, it's the same information I had the first time.
Here, thanks. You can
So I
see
don't know
the
why we
10,
voted it down when it's the same info. Well, I do know, but.
you can see the 10 counties that we're connected to. And these agreements are between counties. They're not, when choosing the software, we have to think about collaboration and how we collaborate and work with other counties to save money. So $2 million is a lot. Now you divide that by 10, it's two. The real number is 200,000 that we're saving every year. That's not projected, that's real. Then if we go back to an analog system, you're talking $20 million and less safe, because the people that connect to the software.
Go back to analog. I think that's kind of like bringing the public, humane society up in and out. Stuff, but that's always the problem with proprietary products. You always have to go back. I don't have a problem going back. I won't want to bring it back. I won't. Certainly does not. I'm not diminishing any of the work that's done or the savings.
The other thing that you have to think of too, we are in compliance right now with 911 next gen. The next 3 years is going to be 3D modeling. So if you're in a courthouse on the 4th floor, 3rd floor, or if you're in a building, maybe you're down at Oliver's on the 3rd floor, you make that phone call. Now we're taking the Z data. It's not just the X and the Y, we're taking your elevation. So then when the first responders come, if you're having heart issues or some kind of medical emergency, they know when they load up their truck, they're going to the 3rd floor to 4th floor. That's something. So 3D analyst is what we purchased, not for today, but for 2028. Because as we sit on these committees and get this information in, I have to prepare the county for 2028. And right now, Esri is the only one who has 3D analysts and works with the solution to get that. As far as proprietary software goes, this is an environment where we have users and developers and we all work together. So if I call Esri up on the phone and say, hey, I just got off the committee for the Next Gen 911 and they're talking about 3D floor elevations. Software doesn't do that. Esri gets their engineering software team together and they work out the solution and then they call us back and they give it to us. And it's an update. So that's what the maintenance is. The maintenance isn't, oh, we just charge you. They're actually working on the back end while we're going to these meetings and figuring out what we need next.
So the 10 counties,
Yes.
did they pay into it? Is this, was this just a MOU, MOA agreement? What are is there any scope of any scope of work or anything that they're required to do? Or is this just like a pact saying we'll work together? Is there any
No,
financial gain for, you know?
It's a detailed, comprehensive policy and procedure. So we have two gals up at 911 and we have GIS people here. We all work together to support our county and the other 9 counties. So if they have an issue with addressing or something,
So
we
we're
help
gonna do
them,
fee for services?
they help us.
Will we do fee for services?
No. No, what we do is if our system breaks and we're shut down, we have a tornado that goes through here. Our 911 system shifts to Elk or Venango and they pick up the calls and then they release.
And
For
so the
computer.
GIS helps that happen.
We are the real location providers. Esri is the only software that can do that. It's the truth. Some software can do this, but they can't support the NENA, which is the National Emergency Number Association. So
Just to be fair, there are other agencies out here, entities that do GIS placement in the same similar work. And what you're saying is that they're the only, Esri is the only one recognized by NENA, or it has a working relationship.
I'm not saying that, I'm saying Esri is the only one that can work with all these different agencies at once. We can't afford to pay one to do one bucket and then one to do another bucket and then expect them to talk to each other. This is a one do all for everything. And then what happens is if we pick a separate one like you're talking about, how long is that gonna work for? When are they gonna go out of business? And are they gonna be able to collaborate with the other 10 counties? Because when we go off this system and try to go with something else, we're breaking agreements and contracts that were already in place before any of us got here.
So there's never a period where we reevaluate and break off of the proprietary software and seek out others, because
No,
the thing I know about technology is get your iPhone 16 now, and by Christmas they got 17, right? So I don't think they'll have the going market on it at some point. You should always be able to have competitive marketing.
I'm super competitive and I'm always looking, just so you know, like if
I
they're,
believe that.
you have no idea.
I believe that.
Since I've been here, the short time that I've been here, we've been through 3 Esri reps already because they know when we talk, it's gonna be a really, I'm really trying to squeeze them. I'm not that serious.
Oh, no, I respect, the reason we're even engaged in this conversation right now is because I respect the work that you're doing. I'm grateful for the relationship. I don't mean to sound like I'm thinking or anything, but I'm just like, in this environment, I'm not in the mood to play. Just not,
Right.
give us another budget here in a few months.
Right.
And stuff, and we haven't got stuff resolved. And sadly, it does impact departments like yours.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something, and, to be honest, the whole state of Pennsylvania, all 67 counties, all but one does not use Esri. But what they do is they hire an engineering firm to come in and they do their county. And they pay quadruple of what we pay because we're doing it in-house. So And that engineering company that comes in to support their 911, they're an Esri
Oh,
partner.
I ain't able to be.
You know, the first thing they do is install Esri on the computer.
Listen, I was hearing funny, yeah. It's not, you don't have to preach that part to me. I know the importance of it. And, I'm just trying to, whenever you start talking about other communities communicate, my first thing is, well, what they got on it. Paying on it, help me understand the relationship. Is it just a policy thing or whatever? Or where can they help pay for? I'm always looking that way,
I
because that's
see.
what I'm
Right.
elected to do.
Right.
Right.
Yes, sir.
I think based upon this conversation that you should add this to the agenda and take another, bring it to the next week.
Yeah, there we have a fund balance.
Oh, we got one more thing that I've asked to be asked.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
What?
Thank you,
Before-
Leonard.
Before we go on, when does your 30 days, when does your 30 days end? Because this is the ordinance, so it.
At the end of May, it's my extension.
And then we did have one other thing, Councilman Horton had asked, we had talked previously about ACC election. Under, do you want to address what you were looking to move on to the agenda?
Yep, absolutely. I want to bring the ECCM request to be removed from the administrative code to the agenda. I think they've been here 3 or 4 times. They're willing to come back. Foreign action is actually taken. Is we've asked them to come back. He came back. No one asked a single question the last time. The 2 Toms, Attorney Pizza, Talarico got together. And Councilman Copeland asked their resolution. He asked for their board. They've done that. So they've given us a time frame of April. It's May now. I don't know if that time frame is hard to fix. But I did speak briefly with Attorney Talarico. Reached out to several of you. Today too, I'm planning to reach out to the rest of you on this. But there was some time constraints. I wanted it on the agenda. Talk about it here, talk about it in caucus, we can table it. Want more information, but to delay it, I didn't think it was fair for them to come here and ask and give us some time constraints. And us not take some type of action on it. I thought they deserved to vote on it up or down. And certainly by not being brought up anymore and not being talked about anymore, that basically equated to a no. And I didn't think that was fair. So I'm asking for it to be on the agenda.
First of all, can I jump in? First of all, I didn't have enough information. Charlie's a good guy in that, but he doesn't explain that. Charlie over here had questions. Rock has questions. Alan has questions. Every time, and every couple of days, Charlie would call me and just leave a message. I was trying to get him in front of finance again, and then I decided I want to hear from John DiMatteo. I believe this council believes John DiMatteo or trust him, however you want to put it. He's most knowledgeable.
I think we want to know that all the i's are dotted and the
Yes,
t's are crossed.
that's,
No problem with that
and
at all.
so I had a conversation with the county executive about something else, and I brought this up. I said I would like to meet with John DiMatteo. I was hoping to get down here, John DiMatteo, Joe Sennett. I used all of the characters, and he decided, let's have a meeting in the office. I took Charlie with me and Ron. And John DiMatteo is there, and also.
Lana.
Who?
Lana.
Yes, Lana is. And, you know, I'll state John DiMattio's one. He says, we could be damned if we don't, and we could be damned if we do. Another question, correct me if I'm right, so I said, how quick does this have to be done? And people are working on this. And it doesn't have to be done at this meeting. We can, a letter is supposed to be, I have the letter, I don't have the letter, I saw the letter. It's gonna be signed by the county executive, myself, Charlie Barber, on more information, a 1-year plan, a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan to bring back to council. And that letter, they're waiting for me to sign it. I never got up to re-sign it. The issue is, right now, if it stays under the administrative code, we're okay. The people will be taken care of. The assets we have there will be taken care of. Our question, at least one of my questions is, let's say they do this. And it's a local person that does it, whether it's Charlie Barber and his crew, or myself and my crew, or whatever. What happens 2 years from now if I decide to get out? I can tell you, we have no guarantees. We gotta have.
Long
guarantees.
range plan.
Yes, that's all it
Excuse
is.
Because I really wasn't finished, but I really appreciate those comments, and it gives me another thing to reference. That said, and I believe that I said I wanted it on the agenda for this discussion today and Tuesday, because I believe that you should have all your questions answered. I believe that attorney's been down here no less than 2 times, probably 3. I think the last time Councilman Bell said that he wanted them to come back, they came back and no one asked a single question. I think everything they've done has been transparent. I think if you want more information, you should have the direct questions to the information that you want as to a 1-year, 3-year, 5-year plan. Once they leave here, and that's fair, they need to answer. I'm certainly not going to try to speak for Charlie or Tom on any of it. I think that if you want the information, ask for the information. But I think that to delay it, I don't think it's fair. I believe that a vote should be taken. You don't want to leave, don't leave. Vote it up and vote it down. So Tom's going to.
But I don't,
Well,
Go ahead.
for my, if I can, for myself, I think the kinds of questions that I have are things that cannot be answered. I'm really concerned about what the future looks like. I'm concerned about, this conversation about losing local control if we lose ECCM, that they might at some point get gobbled up and we also lose that. I'm concerned about the things that they do for us as a county that they have said that they operate at a loss for. And I worry that if they are a separate in an organization, they might only pursue the business in which they make money. And so I think this is a unique issue for me in that I'm uneasy about it. I think that I could be convinced for a yes, except for the fact that I think it would be really hard to go through a veto override. And I'm just so uncertain about what that future looks like, and what that can be. I'm not saying
I'm saying make a decision.
I'm not against it. I'm just really looking at it from the perspective of, I'm not sure what the right answer is at this one occasion. And
Well, if it starts as simple as show us your 2, 3, 5-year plan.
Well, you're moving the goalposts. You ask them to come here and answer questions. It comes, you ask them for a resolution, get the resolution. I'm not opposed to any of the stuff that you're asking for, but I'm saying that where's the floor? Where does it end? Because at some point, it's going to do nothing, means that we're just sitting here waiting to see what happens. And I don't think that's wisdom. I don't think that's, he's sitting here, I think he'd come, bring him back here.
but we're not gonna lose nothing
Do a
if we don't
working
do it
group.
right now.
Oh,
The
we
care,
could.
the care is still gonna be there.
It depends on when.
If we lose everything, guess who funds this? The taxpayers of Bergen County.
What are you talking
For
about?
for the other services,
The other
not for
services.
MHIT, but for
Yeah.
the
For the
other
other
things that they
services.
do for us.
Yes,
But if the applications are due by a certain time and he's still connected with the county, they are probably not going to be chosen as the designated provider, and the state's cutting down to 8 or 10. So.
We could lose them
states
anyway.
Want to lose them anyway, lose the designation.
I guess for me,
But it's confusing.
I've not gone through this situation yet in my life, but I can imagine. It kind of feels like when you have a child, you have some control and security to be able to say, I'm gonna keep you safe. And then eventually that child moves out and you stop having that control. And that's what I kind of worry about is if we give up our authority and oversight over it, that
They've operated independently from us and they continue to operate independently from you. Their budget, everything is fee for service. We don't fund them or anything. It's not like it's coming out of the general fund, but I think that if you have the questions, I don't think it's right to keep kicking them down the road. Get the question answered or not, or voted up or voted down. I don't think that's unreasonable. You guys been coming around here since March. Throughout the April date, that's come and gone. If I don't bring it up, nobody says anything, you know, walk around, and that's like, hey, sometimes delayed means no. At least that's the time. I don't think it's fair. I think we've had a great partnership with that entity for over 30 years. Rock throws out that he's a good friend of mine. I mean, he is. But I was kind of like taken aback because I'm friends with a lot of people in the county. That doesn't doesn't affect my ability to be objective.
again,
And so if you don't know, or you all don't know, you don't trust the Barber name, since it came down to trust or uneasiness. And I'm not trying to out anything or anybody, but I don't want to throw rocks and hide my hand. We'll have a discussion about it. Let's have a discussion about it. If you want the questions answered, write the questions down. You want a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan. I think that's a little unreasonable, but okay. Make them jump through the loop.
I think we just want to talk to John, just to make sure.
Bring John down so we all can talk to John,
Well, we had asked that.
but we're not live. So we're not live.
Can we ask him to come down at the next, at our conference?
Yeah.
I mean, John,
He can bring Joe. He can bring Joe and he can bring Bill or whatever, but we like to talk to them. And therein lies the problem. We can't even talk to the administrators. I don't want to hear what Lana said secondhand. No, she's got her hands, got enough to deal with OCY, mess over there. I want to hear what I want to hear it right here. She's got something to add to the discourse. If John has something to add to the discourse, let John come down here and add it to the discourse. But to kick it down the road, I don't think that's fair. I think it's rather friendly, actually.
Did you look at the contract, Jeff?
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think it was Tom. This one.
I actually spoke with him earlier. Hate that he's not here. I'm not going to speak for him now.
you talking
It's on
about
the
the
agenda.
ordinance
Want to
itself?
come here Tuesday? You want to table it? Table it. But it's gonna have some action.
I will say, John's position seemed to be very clear that there are a lot of upsides.
How about we have John come down here, because now it's hearsay. How about we have John come down?
It's just that everything for the
Why is
citizens is
it
still
hearsay?
covered.
Why is it hearsay?
Because I'm getting secondhand information,
You had 3 council members here.
okay?
And I don't think any of these councilmen hate the Barbers, at least I've known them for 50
I don't
years.
care if you hated them or loved them. I'm
I
not talking
don't.
about the barbers. I'm talking
I'm
about the
uncomfortable
damn
with the whole deal.
ECCM. Get your answers. Ask
I've been
the
trying
question.
since I first met with the
What
2
is, what
Barbers
does it
in
need?
July.
What do you need to get your answers?
I want guarantees.
Who do you want your answers from? Who can we bring here and give you answers? Who can guarantee that for you?
Who can guarantee the stuff you ask?
I'm asking you because I'll ask them to come here.
I'll ask them to come here. And I said it the other day in the meeting.
Well, ask somebody to, damn it, ask somebody to come here and explain it. Bring John down here. Bring Charlie or whoever else you want the answers from down here.
I take it I'm asking councilors, you don't want me to sign that letter that the county executive already signed? Ask them what. Tell them,
What letter?
a letter was put together in that meeting, well, not that meeting.
In what
Agreed
meeting?
with the three council people, the county
John.
executive, John. And they thought it was the best thing to send a letter to Charlie.
Has our
John
attorney,
McCain.
have you seen the letter? Has Tom seen the letter? So what are y'all up there? Never mind. I never mind.
They won't sign the letter.
Never mind. It's on the agenda. Table it Tuesday if you want to, talk about it more. If you want answers or something from somebody, I'd like to have John come down.
So would I.
Would you please ask John to come down?
I'll go through the proper
For
channel.
caucus
Would
or
you,
the
would
next
you
finance?
please ask
For
John
the
to-
caucus or the next?
for the
finance?
caucus, because this is on the thing, it's 2 reads or whatever, but it's on the thing. You have a couple of weeks to work through it. I don't think that after dealing with it since March, early March at that, that it should be that groundbreaking or that hard of a thing to come to some type of resolution to it. If you're not comfortable with it, I didn't hear no. I didn't hear yes either. So that means there's still dialogue and discussions to be had. And I don't think it's unfair to just leave it out there floating in the air.
And this actually started.
Hold on a second,
before-
Mr. Drexel was.
I just, 2 things. One small thing, but you're never gonna get a guarantee on it. Like, it just isn't gonna be how that works. Like, I mean, we're trying to do the best we can. We put a lot into this. We've gotten a lot of information. Have John come down here, all that good. The second thing has to do with the timing of all this, right? Like you had mentioned about how much time they had till his GIS situation expires. We only have a regular meeting on the 6th and then a personnel and finance on the 15th when we go on break. So whatever we do with either of these scenarios, probably need to do it pretty quickly. Right? Like, I mean, you're talking about us giving GIS an answer within 30 days by the end of May. If we don't do something in these next 2 meetings. And that seemed pretty compelling reason for us to maybe change that. So, I mean, not just.
I'll bring, they can come every day, I don't care. I'll come here every day and listen to them,
It's not what
whether it's the administration or Charlie.
I'm talking about.
We've been going on this since July or
That's right.
August.
There isn't a meeting.
Kind of tough to have an answer when you can't get everybody in the same room.
That would have to be into a separate.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, so why don't there someone from the administration come down with John, since they're gonna hold his hand anyway? At least you have 2 of the doggone people, and then you bring to Pittsburgh and Charlie and Tom Tyler report Jay. But this is, there's no reason for us not to have a big decision on this one way or the other. And I'm beyond optics. I don't know what it looks like.
I will say that I recognize the authority that any member of council would move an item on the agenda. So if that's the case, we can finally put it into approach.
What's on the finance agenda, you guys have to let me know, there's a couple procedural things here that I need to understand too. We have number 9, which was the Esri contract. You said to add that to the agenda, is someone going to then make a motion in the regular meeting on Tuesday to reintroduce that?
Yes.
But we also have to move that to a second in that meeting and make that decision, right? Okay.
But for it to formally be on the agenda, and you have to reintroduce that. Just clarifying that, and then Andre had asked for this one for ECCM to go on the finance agenda. But at this point, then you as a body need to let me know, is that going on the agenda for Tuesday, because it has to be published
Actually,
tomorrow.
only one person has that, and that person would be me.
Right.
At this point, requesting that it be on the agenda. And if it isn't on, if it is on the agenda and they don't want to deal with it, they can table it at that time. That's what this entire discussion is about. about, this isn't a thing where we need permission from one another to add something to it. Just it's. So I would appreciate it if you have that.
Appreciate you guys hanging tough with us. Glad to see we have an analysis of the general fund balance.
Did everyone get a chance to look at the numbers? And there's been like 3 or 4, 5 ordinances this year. So you got about $27,900,000 in excess of where we need to be. And remembering, I know Andre, you're gonna yell at me because I'm using the word approximate, but because we don't have last year's audit done, you know, we're taking what was done last year, fund balance appropriation and the supplementals and what the financial statements say. So it's, I mean, it's in the ballpark of where we need to be.
I'm not gonna yell at you, I'm just gonna remind you that under your job descriptions, that you should provide us with an
Can't do it.
once every month.
Cannot do it.
And that includes that stuff that's encumbered and unencumbered.
That being said, I understand it's an unaudited amount, but
Yeah.
for the last 4 years that I checked, 3 years that I checked, the very first meeting.
It's been the last 30 years.
has-
So it's
Has
an
had that done,
unaudited number,
Oh,
so it's not perfect.
You don't want it? You don't want to be, can't talk about Carl? You sure you don't?
Let's call personnel meeting to order. First on the agenda, ordinance number 22, 2025, repeal of resolution number 28, 2017. We had our first read, 4/22/25. Any new discussions? I think everybody was pretty good with that. Number 2, possible appointment of Carl J. Anderson III to the Erie County Community College Board of Trustees. Mr. Anderson will replace the Reverend Dr. Charles Mock, who resigned, term to expire August 31st, 2026. It's tabled 3/25/25. Personally, I have no problem if we keep it tabled till after the election, if that makes everybody comfortable, or if somebody wants to pull it off the table, so be it. I know part of that was pending on the ordinance number 22.
We kind of hoped you'd ask them, I thought you were gonna ask them to consider to withdraw his name. It's absent of that, I have no desire to table it, I just assume vote it up with the recommendation, or down with the recommendation of the college.
And with the, that being said, before Tuesday, I can reach out to them to.
Yeah, we trying to save them that. You might
I know.
Just withdraw.
Well, some of the conversation was related to the conflict of interest being on the foundation board. Was there a
Which,
conflict- was there a
to my
conflict?
understanding, after talking to the college, that would have to be changed. He could not serve
On both.
on both. And I don't know if at this point he even realizes that yet.
I think that conversation.
And that's what we thought, that's
He
what
doesn't know
you were
that.
to go ask him to consider that last time.
That's on me.
I think-
That's okay,
I
we
haven't-
still got time.
Have you
So,
not
but-
given him the choice, like to say, by the way, it was a conflict of interest to be on this?
No, I have
board?
not talked to him regarding the
Oh,
conflict with the foundation.
okay.
But I did get it reaffirmed that I
Yeah,
talked
yeah,
to the college. He has a new assistant there, Waskevich.
Man, I'd like to be at that conversation that you have with him, just to see how that, since you all are both running for the same seat, I bet that'd be interesting. Yeah, I like to be a fly on the wall.
It has been a little interesting, but still hasn't changed.
Somebody
my-
even say weird.
But
To be clear,
Oh,
if we don't know definitively if he's withdrawing from the foundation board Tuesday, I would seek to untable him.
That's what
so be it.
I think we've been sitting on this issue for a while, and that's nothing against Carl, but it is the conflict of interest that was pointed out.
And we'd like some clarity on that rather than letting us sit out there through the.
And he would have to get off that foundation board before that vote.
And then he would have to cede his seat if he becomes the nominee.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
that's why, and we could save a lot of, if it stayed on and waited till, whether we see he gets elected, whether he gets off the foundation board, but I'll reach out to him and just
Yeah, or we could just,
confirm.
or he could just
Vote on it.
withdraw his name and just make it nice and clean.
Okay. Number 3, possible reappointment of Melissa Dewar Zadunsky to the Erie Board of Assessment Appeals. Term to expire December 31st, 2028. Brought forward by Mr. Drexel and Mr. Bale.
Yeah, it's joint. She's apparently doing an
Yeah,
excellent
she does
job
an
and they'd
excellent job.
love to have her and she'd love to stay, so.
Amen. I like
It's a
that.
win-win. It's a win-win.
I like.
It just doesn't seem like it's already.
I don't know why my name came second. Must be District 5.
Number 4, possible appointment of Mary Kay Iser, Erie County Mental Health and Intellectual Disabilities. Term to expire December 31st, 2027, brought forward by the county executive. Number 5, possible appointment of Lawrence Brown to the Erie County Housing Authority. Term to expire December 31st, 2029, also brought forward by the county executive.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
here again, we have an item that had been voted down previously with no substantial changes. I'd like to have this removed from the agenda.
We voted on this one once?
Number 5.
Is that the will of council or?
That's the law.
Huh?
That's the law.
Okay,
Can't,
can't do it. Number 6, possible reappointment of Dominic Molino, somebody's nephew, to the Erie County Agricultural Land Preservation Board, term to expire December 31st, 2027, brought forward by the county executive.
They're all related.
All right.
It's different than the conservation. How does that work?
Uh,
I don't know about that.
it's Trying to, yeah, it is trying to preserve those pieces of farmland. I mean, they work in conjunction with the conservation.
How long you been
district
on,
and stuff.
Sheriff? How long you been here?
Yeah. Did you call it a day?
3 weeks now.
3 weeks.
Motion to adjourn?
See you guys.
I can always tell the new
Paul.
guys.
Did you watch the Pirates game last
Because they
night?
No,
always
I
have
didn't.
their gloves
See what
on,
happened?
No, I
like they're all
first of all, I
inside.
fell asleep.